Hello, friends. I wanted to have a quick conversation with you about something that's been bothering me a little bit. The topic is specifically out of state investing, and it's really what I consider to be a couple of mistakes. And this might be a conversation that's hard for some of you to hear. You all know, hopefully by now, that I used to run sales teams, right? Had teams around the country and for many years around the world. And every 45 to 60 days or so, we had to have a hard conversation. And this is going to be one of those. So here's the deal. I think there's a growing trend with out-of-state investing, and it is going to hurt many of you. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's arrogance or ignorance, but it's one of those two, or perhaps for some, both, and it needs to stop. This is what I am seeing. I am seeing more and more folks who, for whatever reason, feel like they can't invest in their backyard, turn to the central or south of the United States. And what they are saying are things like, hey, I can get a 1% or a 2% deal. I can get a 12% return. You know, all of these silly spreadsheet numbers. And some people are jumping in with both feet, almost sight unseen, without visiting, without doing any kind of research. And here's the deal. Most of you, when you do that, are going to get crushed. You may look good on paper, but you are going to lose. You may not lose this year. It may be a couple of years, but you are going to lose. So here's the deal. This is why I say it could be arrogance. You're likely choosing to invest in a relatively big city. This big city probably has thousands of local real estate investors. Local, right? Boots on the ground. And if you think you can get into that market by looking online only and suddenly find deal after deal after deal, just because they're priced cheaper, they're a 2% deal versus where you live, it's less than that, over and over and over again consistently, you can beat the local investors time in and time out. You're wrong. I fully support that it's possible to beat them out of a deal or two, right? There's only one available. If you strike first, sometimes you win. But I got to tell you, over the long term, if the deals were so good, local investors would snap them up. So what does it mean when local investors are not snapping them up? Well, it could be that they're overpriced. It could be something about that street or that configuration or that age of house or something that they know that an out-of-state investor doesn't have boots on the ground to figure out. So while it may appear cheap or a better return, once you get into it, you suddenly find a $10,000, $12,000, $15,000 extra expense. Maybe all the pipes need to be replaced, or maybe the wires are stripped, or who knows. But it is arrogant to think that you can consistently beat local investors time in and time out. It just is. Again, I fully admit that on occasion you could get lucky. And sure, you could get one a year, maybe two a year. But to think you can snap up 5, 6, 7 just by going online and never visiting and never having boots on the ground, I'm here to tell you today that's arrogance. So ignorance, it could just be ignorance. One of the things that I teach, and I make it very clear. In my course, what I'm trying to teach you is what is a bad, average, good, and great deal for your market of choice. I'm trying to teach you a new skill. What some of you are doing is you're taking the history you have from your local market, and maybe you know your local market cold because you've been there for 20 years. But you're trying to take that experience and bring it to some city you have never been to. That is ignorance and probably a little of arrogance. So what you need to do is flush everything you know in your current location and just realize you need to build up the muscle memory. You need to learn the local. You need to learn that market at least close to as good as the locals do. Because realize that real estate investing is about finite assets, right? There's one listing, right? There's one asset out there. Now there's thousands of them, but if history is any indicator, 90% of them are overpriced for investors. 8% of them are kind of And that maybe leaves 1 or 2% that everybody fights over. So again, don't be ignorant. Realize that every market is different. Don't take your Silicon Valley or Southern California or New York bias to Detroit, to Huntsville, to Atlanta, to Dallas. Every location has its own ins and outs. So if you need help learning how to learn a market, I have the system for you. I even give it away for next to nothing. I even give you a $50 off coupon code, which is WEB50, 5 letters, WEB50. If you want to learn in another location, and I'm not opposed to out-of-state investing, I just don't want people to act with arrogance or ignorance. If you're willing to put in the time and invest and learn the market, go for it. There could be great deals. Build your network, build a second team, do all the things, but please don't think you could be a helicopter investor, fly over it, look at a couple of things, and you're going to be successful long term. If you do any more than one deal, the odds say that eventually you're going to hit one that doesn't work. And it's going to be because something was amiss, right? You just didn't know. And I get very concerned. I'm just very concerned with all these out-of-state investors bidding up these cities where I have local investors telling me time and time again, we're not bidding anymore. You guys are overpaying. I mean, if that trend continues, we could be in trouble. And some of these cities that today look good on paper, when unemployment goes from 3.6% to 7.2%, you're going to get crushed. Rental rates are going to go down. Evictions are going to go up. Move-in specials, vacancies, repairs. Oh, in 18 months, it could be hell on earth again. And if you're not careful and you don't do your homework, you don't learn the market, you don't spend the time to protect yourself, you could be in trouble. So please, please, please don't ever act arrogant, and please don't buy with ignorance. Put in the time, put in the work, and protect yourself. Protect yourself today and protect yourself for the future. All right. Hope that makes sense. Hope that wasn't too hard a conversation. Have a great day.